A business ain't lowering their prices. 99 times of 100, the business is going to cut expenses by getting rid of you, laying you off, because the business wants to stay in business. And the way they stay in business is cutting expenses. And what's the biggest expense for most businesses? Payroll. Who's on the payroll? You and me, right? So specifically, the GDP showed a contraction or decrease of about 0.3% in the first quarter of this year. And the GDP was down from the 2.4% growth that it seen the previous quarter. Now, that was the first decline of the GDP in about 3 years, since around 2022. So that's 3 straight years of a growing GDP that has now changed. Now, this is the first time we see it change, but I suspect that as we go into the next several months, we're going to see GDP continuing to decrease and get lower and lower. Remember now, the President Trump's Liberation Day of tariffs, I think it was back on April 2nd or something. This GDP data is before the announcement of tariffs. Okay, so the GDP data that we're with, again, it's looking backwards, is before the tariffs. So if the GDP is down before the tariffs, what do you think is going to happen to the GDP in the next quarter, right? After some of these tariffs have sort of been in place for a while. So you need to keep that in mind as a consumer. Remember, they don't always just tell you, hey, this information we got, now that's looking backwards, guys. You remember, that's not real-time data. They don't really say that when they announce what the unemployment rate is, or what the GDP is, or what the inflation rate is.